Over the past few years, everything has changed. Where and how we work and live, the way we collaborate and measure success, and the emerging technologies we use to get it all done. Welcome to The Bridge. Join our host, Scott Kinka, in a series of discussions with top leaders in technology and learn about how they bridge their lives and their businesses into our new hybrid work and AI-driven reality. Our hope is that the insights and experiences will help you on your journey in business and in life from who we were to who we are today. And maybe it'll help you get better prepared for whatever comes next. The Bridge is a service of Bridgepointe Technologies, the nation's leading IT advisory firm. Bridgepointe helps business leaders evaluate, procure, implement, and manage technology and customer experience solutions with a focus on realizing sustainable results for your business growth. And now, here's your host, Scott Kinka.
Over the last few years, on the backside of the pandemic, IT budgets have remained somewhat static. But in the latter half of 2023, pressure to cut IT spend increased into the slightly more pressure category. The result? IT cost management is the number 2 priority for CIOs in 2024, behind only cybersecurity. That's right. Cost management is a more important priority than data analytics, cloud, automation, and AI. Why, you ask? Well, you'll have to listen on to learn why. A few weeks ago, I had the pleasure of sitting down with Eric Russo. He's Bridgepointe Technologies' Senior Vice President of Lifecycle Services. While most of us here at Bridgepointe meet with customers about new technology or new initiatives, Eric and his team are generally the ones that find the budget to pay for those initiatives. And our conversation is an enlightening one for IT leaders in 2024. The post-pandemic budget run-up is over, but the demands on IT to deploy next-gen tech like AI have never been higher. IT cost management is all of a sudden a business priority. So check out my talk with Eric here and make sure to follow The Bridge with Scott Kinka on your favorite podcast platform. Well, welcome to another episode of The Bridge. As we promised on our end of year recap, we're going to spend a little bit more time live, a little bit more time with some of the folks from Bridgepointe so you can get to know some of them and get to know our experts out there in the field. And we just happen to be here at Normandy Farms doing our lifecycle kickoff. And with me, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, but with me is Eric Russo, who's our Senior Vice President of Lifecycle Services. Welcome to the podcast, Eric.
Thank you.
How are you?
Yeah, I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. This is awesome.
What are we doing today here at Normandy Farms?
We are kicking off our year with our team. Lifecycle Services is part of Bridgepointe. We've been with the company for about a year now, and this is typical for what we do in the beginning of the year to recap 2023, and then to talk about what we're trying to get accomplished in 2024.
Got it. And I jammed this in before Eric got coffee and breakfast. So if he's cranky with me, it's 100% my fault as we go through this. Well, Eric, I appreciate you sitting down with us for a little bit. I have a couple of notes here I just want to hit you with, and we'll talk through them. But let's just we always start by getting to know our guests. So
all right.
Tell us a little bit about Eric Russo. Where you're from, where do you live, kids, what you like to do. Just give us some background.
Oh, yeah. So, I moved around a lot as a kid, but I ended up we're Normandy Farms in Blue Bell, Pennsylvania. We're outside of Philadelphia. I ended up outside of Philadelphia because I went to Villanova. And my wife is from local too, so we ended up staying here. So I've been here the longest of my life. And my kids I have 2 teenagers. One's 14, a girl, and then a 17-year-old boy. All of the typical trials and tribulations with teenagers, obviously.
Sure.
And then I've been with the prior company to Bridgepointe for 12 years. Before that, I worked mostly in high tech. So I've worked for Cisco, I've worked for Symantec, I've worked for some startups. And I've been doing this for about 30 years. So a good amount of experience just in terms of the tech world.
Fantastic. And your kids are going to be thrrilled that they can search you by name on Apple Music.
My 14-year-old was a little horrified. She was a little horrified that Dad's going to be on a podcast. But I tried to explain to her that Kinka's, he's got about 1 million pieces of content out there. I'll have one. So
hey, it's all good, but it'll be a good piece of content. We're looking forward to this.
Yeah.
So, all right, I've asked you one more question about you, and then we'll get into talking about Lifecycle a little bit. and I always ask this question. I know that you've seen other episodes of the pod, but what's Eric Russo's superpower? What's your work superpower?
Oh boy. I think getting our team together behind customer requirements and initiatives. I think being able to meet those, understand what the customer needs are, and then not only help personally help fulfill, but also the 50 associates that sit behind me, just in terms of fulfilling those customer needs.
Got it. And we're going to talk a little bit about what Lifecycle is in a moment, but let's just talk about the why first. So our listeners know, we do lots of live events, and in fact, we had a great 2-part episode around AI that was captured at our summit in Palm Springs this past year. And what maybe the listeners don't know, or certainly people who weren't there know, is that was a 3-day event. I kicked it off with a keynote, but immediately following the keynote, we went straight to you and Chris, really as the beginning of the content. And we started by talking about, kind of IT cost management, optimization, containment, which are like, wow, we have a 3-day conference and all these suppliers here. Like, why are we going straight to that?
Yeah.
But the reality of it is, that it's top of mind, and it remains top of mind. In fact, it's increasing statistically. Tell us a little bit about kind of that your experience in the field related to that, and really, why now? Why are we still having this conversation about containment? What's unique about today?
I think just at a high level, some of the macroeconomic headwinds that we're seeing.
Yeah.
And it started with COVID, obviously, just in terms of businesses that we were kind of stuck in the mud for a while, and then even though we came out of COVID, we've had some bouts of inflation, supply chain, if you recall all of that, right? Yeah. So not that while there's still some legacy of that, but even business inertia seems to be a little bit stuck. We're not on a significant growth path. So because of that, businesses are looking at ways to optimize their IT spend in order to harvest some cost savings, to invest those cost savings in technology that enables the business.
Yeah.
So, what we get a lot of from our clients is, how can you help me? And it's savings is one thing, but it's less about savings and it's more about optimization.
Yeah.
And it's more about how am I utilizing my assets to the best of the ability that I can, or is it not only potentially drive down savings of existing, but then it's also what technology can I bring in that delivers better value for same or less cost. So, I think those are pretty compelling drivers because, lastly, even though there's the AI is a huge thing, there's not a lot of budget out there for IT to make investments and even trial projects, determine the ROI and that sort of thing. So we're working with clients to really help them, harvest some of that budget, reallocate it to some of these, projects that can help the business. And one of the big things is digital transformation. Well, you can't digitally transform until you can get some money to go and do that.
Yeah. I mean, you answered my objection before I asked it, right?
Yeah.
We've spent I feel like every episode that we had in this second 6 months of the year, I don't care who it was with. It could have been with a data center provider or a UCaaS provider or a CX provider. They all devolved into an AI conversation, right? So what I was about to ask you, and you already answered it, but it bears restating, was like, well, we're talking about all this new stuff, and you're talking about cost containment. But your point is that containment and optimization is really around finding space and budgets for investment right now. So companies are investing, they're just not investing more, right? What's happening you shared some interesting data, I think it was like from Bain, or I think it was Bain, at a summit about what's happening in IT budgets today, like over the last couple of years since COVID. Is that rising, shrinking, staying the same? Like, what are you saying?
Pretty flat. They're pretty flat. And, one of the things that struck myself, but also the rest of our company, just in terms of, was that security is the number one priority, but cost containment, cost optimization is number two, ahead of big data, ahead of AI, clearly, the IT leaders, I'll give you an example. We have a large retail customer, 1,000 stores, that's doing relatively well. I think speaking, they're privately held, but right now the CEO is reviewing any purchase order that's $50,000 more than what was budgeted in 2023 for 2024. Right? He
Wow.
wants visibility into all that because he's trying to get a grasp on where's the money going.
Yeah.
Is this an investment that we want to make?
Yeah.
So, that same customer tasks us, as part of our engagement, tasks us to find, cost reductions every year, and we deliver upon that. That's part of our engagement with them. And just to take a step back on that, we work with them in terms of giving them visibility into what their spend is. And because we have some pretty interesting ways to give that, and good ways to give them visibility into their spend, we're able to make recommendations and things like that. But at a higher level, from a business perspective, you got a CEO of 1,000 chain, 1,000 store reviewing purchases over 50 grand.
Wow.
50 grand delta.
Yeah. I mean, super interesting. And you mentioned, I want to just, something popped in my head as you were going through that. You said ROI, right? So it's one thing to go in and say, hey, and look, we know, IT leaders out there, I know you're not inspecting your bills, let's be honest.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the unsexy part of this, right?
Yes,
But
it
let's
is,
all
yeah.
be honest with each other, we're friends, right? But we know we're not doing that. And we know that there's that in every company's invoicing because it just happens, tariffs and taxes and all the stuff,
Yeah.
and particularly in like legacy telecom and those kind of things. Things drift, quote unquote, right? But let's take that off to the side for a moment because, it's necessary and unsexy, right?
Yep.
But you did mention ROI, which, is sort of the bridge to sexy stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like AI. Are you guys being tasked with that side of the equation also by your customers? Tell me more.
Yeah. So, just yesterday had a totally different customer, a money manager, very high end, high amount of money that they're managing.
Yeah.
Has had a inbound from Microsoft to use Copilot, and which is AI. So that's why I bring it up, right? And so they said very specifically to us, what are you doing? Microsoft is telling us that we need to use Copilot. And they're telling us that is a great value and it's worth every dollar that you pay for it. What are you guys seeing from your customers to help us justify the investment in Copilot? Just an example. So
which is, it's like it's like $20 per head. $30 per head overlay.
Yeah,
okay, gotcha.
$360 a year, and the CIO specifically said, "What? Help me understand why I should spend $360 a year."
Got it.
And it's not that he doesn't want to.
Yeah.
He wants to really justify it. So in another conversation I was having with the later on in the day with the retail store, we talked about it and we started to talk about what are you guys going to do, and they're going to trial it, and their justification was, well, if I get an hour back each week from every person that uses it, I can probably justify it.
Productivity
Yeah.
increase.
So to your point, so those are the discussions that we're having, and that's just. But then we also do that with other technology and help the customers put business cases together to justify the investment in whatever it is, whatever technology that they're rolling out. Most recently, we have a large company that we're going to help jump in and manage mobile. They've got to go to their board to say, we want to go use these folks to manage mobile. And so we're providing them with cost offset, what it's going to cost for us, what the offset is, helping them build that business case so they can go present it to their board and say, hey, listen, it's better for us to use Bridgepointe to do this work. And here's all the things that they're going to deliver us. And by the way, our people can now focus on this. Here's the cost reduction and that sort of thing. So we're constantly working with our
look, to be honest, cost management. Take mobile as an example.
Yeah.
Like plan optimization is not something people do every day. Just forget about the hour back. Like you guys are just going to be better at it than somebody else is. But before we jump there, and I want to talk about mobile for a minute. Let me just go back to AI for one moment.
Sure.
Because you mentioned, I just wanted to say that, we've had a lot of discussion on the podcast lately with our supplier partners. And they're like, we've been sort of equating AI today to cloud from like 5-6 years ago, where it was like these corporate level edicts, like we're going to do AI now. And you're like, for what? Like, what's the use case? Right?
Yeah.
So I'm just kind of trying to tie a little bit of what you just said to what's kind of happened on the last handful of episodes. You guys are doing contract consulting work to help companies find use cases effectively.
Yes.
That will then generate TCO to make AI investments.
Yes.
Save the money to, save the
Yeah.
money, optimize to invest in it, and then help build the ROI and find the use cases to be able to push the thing forward.
Yeah, and to be clear, we are not AI in particular experts, right? So
Well, you're procurement experts.
Yeah, we're procurement experts.
Yeah.
So what we do is we take an existing set of technology that they potentially have, and look at that existing set of technology and say, hey, can we optimize this? And you and I have spoken in the past about cloud optimization.
Yeah.
So potentially, if they're public cloud, can we go in and find some optimization in public cloud?
Yeah.
Can we go in and find optimization in data center? Can we go in and find optimization in software? Can we go in and find optimization in telecom across the board, right?
Yeah.
And so then, we work with, we have one particular client that gave us all of their contracts and IT spend a little smaller. And, across the board, they've given us carte blanche to go in and help them optimize what their spend is. And in some cases, they've gone up because they've said, we want to spend the same amount of money, but we're going to get more from it. So gone up in terms of what they're procuring, but we've kept the level. In some cases, they've reduced. In some cases, they've, found another vendor, and changed the way it is. But all of that money that we take out now goes back into IT, because typically IT budgets are set for the year, right? So if we can affect an in-year budget, which we try and do, they don't have to go back to the company when they want to make an investment.
It stays in the coffers.
It stays right in the coffers.
I get it.
Yeah.
It. Super interesting. Let's let me jump back to mobile for a moment.
Yeah.
Because again, that sort of falls in that category of like, everybody has one.
Yeah.
So what? But the reality of it is, has the mobile landscape changed dramatically since COVID? People are home and they're on personal devices, or is that just sort of a condition that people are expected to have mobile phones, and it is what it is?
I think there's no signal in the noise. It's usually,
Yeah.
Some it has changed dramatically to the point where UCaaS seats are gone because everyone has a mobile phone.
Yeah.
But other customers, it's business as usual where they provide devices. I'll tell you, so it really depends specific to the customer. What we're seeing is there's as always, there's a trend downward in terms of what the spend is.
Yeah.
So if you have customers pre-pandemic that have never looked at their contract, it's pretty significantly less. So it all depends on the customer where they're going mobile wise, but they that's what BYOD. So there's always some discussion. It seems very consistent. We're going to go BYOD, but many of our customers that consider it don't do it because of the security implications, because they can get a better deal, because of the issues with providing, stipends and how the taxation and things like that.
Yeah.
So most customers that are providing customer-owned devices continue to do so. Don't go BYOD. And other customers who have UCaaS seats or work from home or whatever have now said just use your mobile phone and go that way.
Interesting tie into UCaaS. This has come up a handful of times in recent weeks. I read, probably a year ago, it was a Gartner study that said that companies' communications investments, so figure that's traditional telecom, it's UCaaS, it's mobile, and then it's things like meetings and Zoom and investments went up by 30% in the pandemic.
Wow.
And now businesses are really trying to rationalize that. I've got some meetings over here, but we're doing Teams, and those meetings aren't so bad anymore. And I can do phone there, but I have this UCaaS over here and the mobile. Are you guys seeing that in the field? Just sort of help me rationalize this pile of comms stuff I have?
Yeah, definitely. And one of the things that continues, right? I don't know how much install base is out there, premise-based stuff.
Yeah.
But, in our particular customer base, a lot of Cisco was deployed.
Yeah.
And so there's trying to figure out what we're doing with the Cisco, and then moving. And then, Microsoft is pretty ubiquitous just in terms of, again, our customers.
Yeah.
So we see that. So there is, we work daily on projects related to what am I doing with this infrastructure? Am I keeping it? Am I going to Teams? I love Zoom, how do all these things play together?
And are you guys involved kind of in that rationalization? You're which use cases are for what, who likes what. I mean, you're sort of building the mapping, not just to help optimize the expenses, but making recommendations on like, this is what your company is telling us is they're using and how they're working.
Yeah, I mean, one of the big things that we bring is other customer experience, right? And things that we've done. And I mentioned about just taking a step back, finding ROI and getting budget and going to apply it. But one of the things that I neglected to say is not only do we help customers rationalize that technology, but then we also help them implement it. So one of the big areas that we're in the middle of is implementing some of that, either moving from Cisco Prem, Avaya Prem to Zoom, Cisco Prem to so when they make that technology decision, they, instead of, because people are short-staffed and they want to get it done more quicker than if they did it themselves. And so Bridgepointe helps them with their transition. So not only help make the decision, understand the financials of the decision, but then we also help them transition it.
And that goes as far as also like people management, right? Like your PMPs, you're in there.
Yes.
It's digital transformation management, like managing the chaos in the org,
yes.
during the conversion.
Yeah, and if you look at the continuum in terms of how we help our customers in general, we look at we work with a customer to understand what their technology directives are for a year, and as we've discussed earlier, if you look at the broad view, security is number one, but number two is this kind of cost optimization. So then we get engaged with them around cost optimization, and it could take the form of mobile, it could take the form of reconciling these different platforms, all of that, and so we help them procure that. So IT procurement. And then once we help them procure that, then we help them transition it. And then once it's transitioned, we help them manage it from a financial perspective and making sure that we understand what their inventories are, visibility into that inventory, visibility into the spend, and that sort of thing. So it's across the entire continuum, just how we help them manage all of that.
I have one last question about containment then while we're talking, which is, has all of this kind of, I hate to say increased urgency, let's just say, continued urgency, right? Around sort of keeping budgets static. And like you said, but there is urgency. I should probably walk that back a little bit around, like you told the story of the CEO who's looking at every invoice, right? When the next transaction comes up, right? Let's talk about the dreaded RFP for a moment. Right? Like when, our business is now more along the lines of, hey, I used to allow IT to just do this, but now I'm going to need evidence of, is that happening more frequently today?
Yeah, I do. We have several customers that in order to procure now, they need to get a market-based validation that their decision is correct.
Yeah.
Okay, and the only way to really do that effectively is to run an RFP process.
Yeah.
So our team has been running RFPs, for 15, 20 years, right? We have a defined process, but it really is about. I have to say, it's less about the savings and driving down costs. It's more about market validation.
Yeah.
And also, making sure that the company understands its requirements and sending those requirements out to, a select group of people that can meet those requirements, understanding how they're going to meet the requirements, the financial aspects of it, and then moving into contract.
Do customers really know what their requirements are when you first go in?
No.
So you're in that rationalization process.
We help
of
them.
Like, what do you actually want? You think you know what you want, but let's go talk to your users. Let's get that together.
That's exactly right. And one of the great benefits of us, of Bridgepointe is, besides, the team that can run RFPs, but we have these engineers that understand the market, have valid customer data, where we draw upon their technical expertise as far as, requirements gathering and that sort of thing. And so they engage with us, where our team are IT procurement people. They're not necessarily technical. We draw across, we pull from the Bridgepointe engineering team, which are, excellent. And they help us to develop those requirements. And then, there's great customer engagement. We can provide significant value to the customer beyond just, running a process.
Yeah. Well, this was a great conversation. I know you're going to be very busy today. IT procurement, cost containment, cost optimization, finding the dollars in the existing budget to make the investments in all the crazy things that we talk about here with our suppliers on the podcast. These guys do it better than anybody. Eric runs all of that. So again, Eric Russo is our Senior Vice President of Lifecycle Services. But before we end,
Yeah.
3 fun questions.
Oh boy. Okay.
All right. First,
Yeah.
what's on your nightstand? What are you reading right now? Is there a tome you're reading? Or you could say, like, what's your favorite business book if you're not reading something right now?
Oh, 0 to 1. Peter
Okay.
Thiel. Yeah. Yeah.
Give short synopsis.
It's basically taking a company that from 0 to, in the binary
Okay.
to 1. Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah. 0 to 1 for sure.
All right. The second one
Yeah.
is the world ends or the next COVID
Yeah.
happens. We're in our dystopian future, and there's one app that's still functioning on your iPhone.
Oh, jeez.
Which one is it, and why?
Email? But that's no fun.
So give me something fun.
Yeah. Oh gosh. What do I?
I'm putting you completely on the spot.
Yeah. No. I'm trying to think of what apps I use.
Yeah.
Spotify.
It's funny.
Yeah.
I told Gene Apple Music last
Yeah.
year on our end of year episode, and I told him this year it would probably be the same. Although I'm digging Apple News right now. I'm using that more than going to the web because I find I can actually curate my news and adjust my, cone of beliefs a little bit better by trying to curate it.
Yeah.
So that's interesting. Best answer I've ever had, by the way, was flashlight.
Oh yeah.
Think about it, right? What the hell you need anything else for? At that point, it's the end of the world.
That's right.
Flashlight's there. All right, last one, a little bit more businessy.
Yeah.
Give me some kind of prediction, 18 to 24 months. It actually doesn't need to be business. It could be, macroeconomically. It could be sports. I don't care. Give me something that's going to happen, and we'll look back and laugh at this in the future at some point.
I think. Listen, I came up in the internet boom.
Yeah.
And I worked for Cisco in the internet boom.
Yeah.
And it was, we were connecting everyone and everything. I do think that in the next 18 to 24 months, we are going to experience another boom like that. Maybe in AI, maybe in digital transformation. There will be some transformational wave that comes along that organizations will be taking advantage of, and most likely it's going to be AI, but it could be crypto, Bitcoin, just in terms of transactional with companies and that sort of thing.
Sure.
So something like that. I think there's another wave coming.
And businesses are going to need to find a budget to fund those.
That's
whatever
exactly
that wave
right.
is in
Yeah.
their existing expenditures, and that's why you guys are here.
Yep.
So, all right. Well, thank you, Eric.
All right. Thanks.
Fun. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Bridge, and we will catch you on another episode. Listen, if you made it this far, there must have been some good content, or you're just a fan or a relative of mine. In either case, we appreciate you spending your most valuable asset with us, your time. We don't take that lightly. We'd also like to say one more time that we're appreciative of Bridgepointe Technologies and their belief and sponsorship of this show. We hope that if you or someone you know is thinking about your company's digital transformation, or simply the next IT project that you may not have the resources, budget, or time to get to, I'm sure that Bridgepointe, one of the country's fastest growing technology advisory and procurement firms, can help. Check out bridgepointtechnologies.com. Don't forget the E on Bridgepointe, or simply reach out to me at Skinka, SKINKA, at bpt3.net. Also take a minute, please, if you would, to give us a 5-star review on your favorite platform. It helps give us the visibility to reach other people like you. Thanks for listening to this episode of The Bridge. I'm Scott Kinka, and until next time, there's a lot of noise out there in business and in life. Do what you can to be the signal. Thanks.